Before we go today, I want to take you back to Sunday, September 6th, 1992. Sunday, September 6th, 1992. I was 26, and I was living at home in my parents' house in the suburbs of Washington. And I had stayed up all night waiting for the Sunday paper to hit our front doorstep. And when I heard that thump, I rushed downstairs and plopped down on the floor and flipped through to the Outlook section. And there it was, my first essay to be published in a national newspaper. And the title read, Boardwalk Bigotry, the day the Klan came marching through my Ocean City weekend. And I would like to end today by reading that piece to you. This is 24 years later. And I want to end like we started, talking about the Klan. And that's what I wrote about when I was 26 in the Washington Post. And here's what it says. Independence Day and even observances of the Emancipation Proclamation of 1863 usually do little to instill in me and countless other blacks a sense that we are indeed free from a past rooted in racial oppression and human degradation. But this now faded summer was different. For once, the 4th of July held a profound lesson for me. On this Independence Day, I was one black man among 20 or so others scattered throughout a crowded intersection on the boardwalk in Ocean City, each of us uniquely anticipating the arrival of the Ku Klux Klan. Although I've read extensively about the Klan, seen vivid videotape of their past activities on television and in school, I, at 26, had never seen them in person. I probably never would have if the Klan hadn't planned to demonstrate on the Ocean City boardwalk on the same weekend my parents and I were to be vacationing there at our summer home. Before going down from Washington, I had heard a word or two about the Klan's intention, but I blew it off as insignificant. I even found myself joking about it. But on the drive down to the coast, passing as usual through the small hamlet of Bridgeville, the stony road we've trod as African Americans from emancipation to the here and now was uppermost in my mind. 3 green wood-paneled homes rest creakily on the left of Route 404. An assortment of sheets, shirts, socks, and trousers dries in the breeze on several laundry lines out back. Also in the backyard, catty-cornered to each home, stand small emerald green outhouses. The privies caught my eye the first time I sped past them, heading east. This Independence Day was no exception. I am always intrigued by the black folks who congregate out front of those houses, playing around on the lawn, washing their cars, and enjoying each other's company. Each time I pass by, I wonder what kind of work they do for a living, and why in the 1980s and 1990s they don't have standard indoor plumbing. Then I'm reminded that, like my ancestors of 1863, who never got their 40 acres and a mule, these families must make the best of what they have, which might include a limited education, unequal access to employment opportunities, and a multitude of other circumstances beyond their control. This year I again pondered and pressed on in uneasiness in my heart. Once in Ocean City, we quickly donned beach gear and headed to the water. After several hours of sunning and swimming, I went up to the boardwalk for something to eat and noticed a crowd beginning to form. I realized the Klan was due to appear. Suddenly, strangely, I felt frightened. My family has been going to Ocean City since 1976. We bought land there in 1980 and 2 years ago built a beautiful home. In those early years, it was not unusual for my cousins and me to hear "nigger" shouted behind us as we strolled the boardwalk. In recent years, though, we have seen much more of a black presence, both homeowners in our beachfront community and vacationers on the sand and streets. Yet on this day, the old chill returned. I began to survey the crowd. Just who comes to a Klan get-together? For starters, lots of cops. Never had I seen so many police on foot, in cars, on horses, in paddy wagons in all of my years of going to that beach. 3 or 4 bikers milled around, tattooed to the hilt. Hardly my type. But also on hand was a scattering of young African-American men, some in small groups, some with white friends, some by themselves. I stood in front of 4 brothers, one with a video camera, who stared at me, saying nothing, expressionlessly, perhaps like me imagining but not believing what was about to occur. We barely spoke, but their presence alone was a comfort. Many passers-by didn't realize what was happening, so I quietly stopped most of the black people and let them know. Some were shocked and surprised. Others didn't care and simply moved on. I didn't drive all the way down here from Philly to see the KKK, one woman said. So we waited and waited. I decided to lie low in the back of the crowd. Even before the Klan's arrival, several black faces, mine among them, seemed forever waiting to exhale, to be relieved of oddly intensified anxiety. Many appeared introspective, realizing that the Klan, white sheets and all, would compel us both to hear their words and feel their hate. It was a journey many of us black folks didn't want to take, but one we could not avoid. Finally, over the heads of some 300 people in front of me, I could see the emerging Confederate flags and bobbing white cones, and finally the Klansmen themselves, about 24 of them, some in long flowing capes and masked hoods, others in dark jeans and black t-shirts with bandanas covering the lower part of their faces. "White power," they chanted, adding racial epithets as they marched along and handed out Klan literature. I couldn't believe my eyes. Not only were they there, but they were fully adorned. Suddenly I was no longer merely reading or observing history. I was present and participating. At that moment, a cardboard sign shot up. "Go home, KKK." A white passerby asked a cop what was going on and was told a KKK rally. Incensed, the man yelled, "How does it feel to be white racist pigs?" Again and again he shouted, "Racist! Racist!" The crowd began a long, sustained boo, boo. The brothers matched the Klan's racial epithets slur for slur. I was proud that some white folks in the crowd clearly despised the Klan. I was surprised that others eagerly pocketed the Klan's literature. But finally, they were gone. However troubling to me at that moment in 1992, the scene was by no means a new one. The Klan chartered its Maryland realm in 1923 and soon claimed to have 72 state chapters and a membership of 33,000. Nearly 1,000 Klansmen paraded through Annapolis prior to a Klan rally in August 1924, and the next summer a big Cumberland Clorero drew Klansmen from all over, including a delegation that arrived in a special railroad car from the District of Columbia. Historically, however, Maryland has been one of the Klan's least successful realms, at least among border states. After the mid-20s, public support seemed to wane. Privately, it's anyone's guess how many hooded uniforms remained in the closets of its citizenry, and still do. Since the 20s, there have been no doubt countless Klan marches, demonstrations, rallies, and night rides, some widely publicized, some secret, some violent, some merely threatening. Surely there are midnight visions of hooded horsemen and flaming crosses buried deep in the memories of some of the black folks in that crackerbox row of green houses on the way to Ocean City. Most of us who live in the big cities don't have such memories, and we don't often think of the Klan. But last Independence Day, for more than 15 minutes, that pitiful yet disturbing demonstration drew us onlooking blacks together as if we were under some sort of gravitational pull. Our diverse backgrounds no longer mattered. Our occupations, our skin color, clothing, hair, all the superficial stuff seemed utterly unimportant compared with our shared sense of being Africans in America, of being blacks in a historically racist country, often still struggling to maintain that tradition. The effects of that struggle are ever present. LA, the recent riots, happens every day for millions of black folks, but there is no visible flame. Only the slow, smoldering anger and bitterness toward whites that many blacks carry around day after day while trying to survive their fundamental political condition, being alive and black in America. Few whites, of course, even try to understand such cultural perspectives. Yet blacks must not only understand white perspectives, but observe and even adopt them into our daily lives. That Klan rally was another one of the many moments when I, as a black man, have been reminded of a terrible truth, that millions of my color were brought to the Americas as chattel to enrich and serve white folks. While I'm willing to make peace with that and move on, most of my white countrymen refuse even to acknowledge that criminal past, that legacy which still lives in so many Americans, whether hooded or not. The unity I felt that hour of that day should be a part of our daily experience as African Americans. I want to feel that connected to my brothers and sisters at all times. And one key to achieving that solidarity is to recall and relive our collective history. Confronting overt racist occurrences like the Klan March keeps the smolder a little bolder in our hearts and minds. It provides the fuel we need to move our feet while remaining spiritually connected to one another. Before I closed my eyes that day, I resolved to keep alive the memory of that march and of those people living in the green homes. That was from 1992.